Welcome to episode 13 of the Take 2 podcast. For the first time ever on screen, we have assembled in person to rank the top 10 best Marvel Cinematic Universe movies.
AKA MCU.
MCU, further henceforth known as MCU. We came up with that trademark. Suck it, Kevin Feige. Come on the pod. We're going to rank the top 10 MCU movies, in our opinion. Sam, how were you introduced to Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe?
It was Iron Man. It was Robert Downey Jr. It was the GOAT. It was the King Daddy of the MCU. Is Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Call him Daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Alex, come on the pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I was introduced 2008. I would have been 11 years old.
Wow.
Introduced to Iron Man, and it sparked something within me that I just like the
Puberty is what happened to Kenny when he watched Iron Man and
Pepper Potts,
Yeah, Pepper Potts that's what did it for you.
But it sparked something deep within me in terms of like just the imagination and like what movies can do. And I don't necessarily remember watching that one in theaters. The first Marvel movie that I can clearly remember watching in theaters was 2012's Avengers. When the helicarrier rises out of the ocean, I remember being shook, and it was the birth of me being like, this is what makes movies awesome. Like, movies can be great. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is truly the inception of my love for movies, my love for just the big spectacle that they can be. Later down the road, I think I developed more of like the refined palette or like the artsy taste of movies. But for me, like the MCU is almost literally my movie origin story. Like, with the exception of maybe Lord of the Rings, this is kind of where it started for me. This is where I was like, I'm all in on this.
I feel like I'm on a first date right now, and you're just coming on aggressively with the MCU love.
Yeah. How am I doing?
You just jumped right in.
Am I getting a second date?
No, you just got right up. It's going to depend on your rankings, but you just got right up on your soapbox and just went head first, told me how much the MCU meant to you, and I'm like, texting someone, I'm like, I'm gonna need you to pick me up.
Sorry,
No, I think the passion's great. Yeah. I think everything he says. I also distinctly remember watching Avengers in theaters multiple times, and I was like, "This is the movies.
Yeah,
we're so back."
Right, and for a really long time, I saw every single one of these movies in theaters.
Right,
it was only post-COVID that I stopped. I think the last movie that I had seen prior to Thunderbolts in theaters was potentially, I want to say Eternals, and I was like, oh, I'm totally out on Eternals. But guess what? Eternals is hot, breaking news. Marvel Cinematic Universe's Eternals is not going to be breaking our top 10 list. Maybe,
hey, speak for yourself.
Maybe Sam will have some honorable mentions, but I don't think that's going to be cracking our top 10.
Probably not. Neither is my other honorable mention, Madam Web.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Does that count? Are we counting Sony?
Technically, it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should have included Morbius. Is it Morbin time? Maybe.
What about
Morbin
Kraven the Hunter?
Oh yeah, you can go swimming in the deep sweaty crevices of Aaron Taylor Johnson's abs in that movie.
Okay, we are not here to talk about how terrible Phase 4 is. That technically 3,
4, 5-ish. I think
4. I think so 4 to 5, somewhere in that.
Pretty sure 3 ends with, I think it's No Way Home, but like Endgame is kind of
Sure.
So we are going to be doing a movie draft. So
it's a draft.
So we are drafting 10 movies.
Head to head.
Yeah, so each of us will end up getting 5, and we're going to end up with top 10.
One of us will win the draft, and the other will lose the draft.
I don't know about that. I think that we can win together.
No, there are only winners and losers. And so comment on who you think won the draft.
Well,
it'll probably be Kenny. Honestly, I've got some crazy hot Marvel takes.
You want to know what they say? It's like, we're all losers here. In other words, we've all lost something.
Wow.
Name the movie. That's right, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Batman.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Batman has lost a lot. Let me tell you, wrong universe with that guy. Name a guy who's lost more things.
Can't do it.
Yeah. Okay, so, do you want to start? Want me to start?
Why don't you start?
Okay.
Like, I like Marvel, but as you guys heard, Kenny has an affair with Marvel, so I feel like he only deserves
my first love.
Should we snake draft or go bing bong back and forth? We can go bing bong.
Let's go bing bong.
Let's go bing bong.
Yeah.
Let's go bing bong.
Okay. So, and we're gonna start with number 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, this is like a lot of pressure to have number 1, but for me, number 1 is gonna have to be Iron Man, 2008.
Are you effing kidding me?
Yeah, we're gonna start from the very beginning.
It's so annoying.
We're going to start from the beginning. Jon Favreau directed. Robert Downey Jr. coming back after being basically panned because he had an insane drug problem.
Yeah.
He's back, and guess what? He is now, as you said, daddy. He is now MCU daddy. He's fully back. He's now, modern day 2025. We know he's coming in as Doctor Doom later. But Iron Man pre-MCU was like B-list, right?
Yes.
He was not the X-Men. He was not Spider-Man. He was not Fantastic Four.
He was nothing.
He was nothing, basically.
Nothing.
Yeah. He came from nothing.
Yeah.
Even though he's a billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Like Batman.
Yeah. This movie was so cool. The music is incredible. Like, his ingenuity and or that scene where he's in the cave and he's beating things down. And it starts off in a very interesting way where, he comes in as a broken, ineffective guy, and he has his issues. He's a playboy. He's a jerk. He's gotten very wealthy off of selling weapons.
Kenny is not really describing issues here, but these are not glitches.
You don't think it's a glitch?
These are features of Tony Stark.
They are features. He's an alcoholic.
Money. Sounds like he's
defend alcoholism. Sam.
Sounds like he's just a guy who likes to have a good time.
Yeah.
Making money selling weapons of mass destruction. I think, spoiler alert, I had Iron Man as my number 1 as well. I didn't think you did, but clearly we have him as a cool dude for different reasons here.
Yeah, in modern day, maybe Tony Stark works for Barstool. He's just a good hang.
That's true.
And so, but he is a broken guy, and it really sets the tone of these heroes aren't heroes because of their superpowers, really. They're heroes because of the people they are deep down inside and the people that are revealed through them. And the first 3 phases, all the way through Endgame, the story is Tony Stark's arc is the arc of the first 3, right? It starts in Iron Man, and it comes to fruition in Endgame. And I just don't think that there's any better place to start than having Iron Man as number 1.
It's a great pick. Stole my pick right out from underneath me. Really didn't think you were going to pick Iron Man.
It's so good.
Kenny, Mr. Recency Bias Kenny, goes with the first MCU film.
Yeah. That movie has stuck with me. I remember literally sketching. I still love to draw. Most of it's more geometric now, but that movie sparked within me, oh my gosh, I want to draw diagrams and come up with all these crazy inventions, and that's
what led you to be an engineer.
There is I've actually thought about this many times, and I'm like, you know what, and I look up to my dad a lot. My dad is just a hero in my life, and he is an engineer, and he's a huge reason why I entered into it. But the second biggest reason, other than my dad, is Tony Stark, probably.
Very fair.
In terms of holy crap, I love my dad, and my dad is a great man, but Tony Stark is so freaking cool.
Yeah,
he's spray painting this. He's making a hot rod. He's listening to death metal. He's in his garage building engines.
Here's what's interesting. My favorite hero is Batman. DC. Yeah. Tony Stark is the Bruce Wayne of the MCU.
Yeah.
Where he's a billionaire, but he's also a genius.
Right. His superpower is that he's really smart.
Right. He's really freaking smart, and he's not afraid of anything. And the funny thing, though, where he deviates from Bruce Wayne is that he's not afraid of the public eye. He wants the public eye.
Yeah.
And he, his face is everywhere. And Bruce Wayne, his face is everywhere, but it's all just a mask.
Yeah. It is his mask.
Yeah. So
and this movie also set the tone in another way. I am Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
Right away, you're changing the you know, just like what we understand as superheroes is they all have these secret identities.
Yeah.
And MCU right away was like, no, we're actually gonna throw that away because the people that they are is the story that we're telling. And I think that's really cool.
I won't. All right, I'm not even gonna go on another Iron Man rant, but I would. Okay, Iron Man, great pick. So, my second pick is gonna be a pick that probably no one thinks about or agrees with. So this is my first pick.
Okay, yeah.
I think this is probably the best, besides Iron Man, the best individual film that doesn't have to rely on other films, i.e., The Avengers or Endgame or something like that, where we have to have an absurd previous knowledge coming in of all these other films to culminate. So, to me, this is the second best movie behind Iron Man. That is Captain America, wait for it, The Winter Soldier.
Man.
I think The Winter Soldier is so good. It doesn't even feel like a superhero movie. It feels like a high octane political James Bond thriller. Yeah. And Lauren doesn't like superhero movies very much. We watched this and she walked out being like, that movie was awesome. That was so good. And it felt like, again, the least superhero-ish of the films, and just more like espionage. And you know, we get the reveal that Bucky is the Winter Soldier, and it's so cool. And the Winter Soldier's so intimidating, and like, but he's been brainwashed sort of. And we have Steve Rogers and him coming full circle, like, you know, 80 years later out of the frozen ice. And it's just, I think it's an incredible movie. I think it gets a little forgotten, which is too bad. I think it's overshadowed by a movie I don't think is nearly as good in Civil War. But I think, I'm not saying Civil War is bad, but Civil War to me was a bunch of characters thrown together. Sometimes we hadn't even seen them on screen. And again, like, we don't even get their context. We're just like, oh, you're here and we should know you from other movies. And it's more action focused, and it's kind of like, oh, we're going to get a bunch of battles between people, which is like fun. But The Winter Soldier just hit home, and it's a movie like, if I could look at this list and say I want to rewatch one of these films the most right now, it's The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, the action in this movie is incredible. It's an incredible pick. It's now off my list, which is a huge bummer. This movie is great. This also kicked off the Russo brothers and their ascendance into the MCU. Like, going, you know, we don't go with Joss Whedon, we end up going with the Russo brothers because of this movie, and they go in and they make Endgame, they make Infinity War. They're now like the heads, and they're kind of creating this like, they're tag teaming very much with Kevin Feige in making this story. This movie also is really interesting because I personally really do like Captain America. Like, I love Captain America. I used to have like a Captain America shirt. He's great. Like, I grew up in the Springs, and so, like, you know, the patriotism there is like really strong. So I'm like, yes, Captain America is awesome. Yeah. And in this movie, it's really interesting because it's like the one thing that Captain America is standing for, like truth, freedom, and the American way. He's like, oh shoot, the American government is like corrupt, and he has to choose. Right. He's like, am I going to continue to fight for the thing that I was fighting for 70, 80 years ago, or am I going to be like, no, I am actually going to stand up for what is right, it, like, in spite of what the, like, United States is going for.
It's a great, and Civil War plays on this too, but it's a great movie, like you were just mentioning, on personal decision making, right? You know, there's always that question of, were the Nazi soldiers bad people? And of course, Captain America was fighting the Nazis in the first one, right? And were they bad people? And now it's Hydra, right? And Hydra's the secret bad guys in this, and they're kind of running everything. And it's that decision of, were they bad people, or are they just following orders? And is Captain America just going to follow orders, or is he going to make his own decisions?
Yeah.
Okay, we can't spend too long on this because we're 15 minutes in.
All right.
And we're both way too passionate about these movies.
Yeah. My second pick, Avengers Endgame.
Hey.
So, Avengers Endgame.
My top 3 are off the board.
It's, because of how much I love Iron Man, this is the fruition of his story. He sacrifices himself in the end, something that he would have never done. It's one of the great story arcs in cinema history where, like, over these, 15, 20 films, you just see Tony Stark grow and change and sometimes recede and sometimes step back. It's so real. The story about Tony Stark is great. Also, just the fruition of the Infinity Saga and the story there. I was so, like, apprehensive towards Thanos this whole time. Like, how can you live up to the height of Thanos? And even though Thanos is ultimately, like, very OP, his character is very interesting. Where he's trying to establish balance. At the end, he feels like he has done that, right? Like, after Infinity War, he has established balance. Like, half of all living things in the entire universe are gone. He feels like he is.
I couldn't get into Thanos. I can get into him. And one, he looks like Barney. And so that was sorry, he's like a wild berry Skittle. Like, I just couldn't get down with it. I think he's overrated as an ultimate villain. I think his motivations are super stupid. Like, oh, balance, I'm gonna kill half the people in the universe. Cool, bro. They're all just gonna repopulate and get back to where it used to be. I think that logic just makes zero sense, and for someone who's so powerful and has been around for so long, I just think it's stupid. So I couldn't get behind his motivations. Now, as far as how powerful and indestructible and, like you said, OP he is, it's fun because you get to see all the Avengers fail for once, and that is fun. But and I think Josh Brolin does a good job. I just think. And I think Thanos has a bunch of, like, sweet quotable lines, right? We were talking before, like, I am inevitable, like, even like the snapping the finger thing's kind of weird. Yeah. But
Fat Thor,
yes. Okay, there's my little interjection on Thanos. Go ahead.
But the movie is so incredible. This movie has ultimate chill factor too, which is something which is quintessential to Marvel. It's the same thing we were talking about with the helicarrier rising up. Like, I feel that again when they're all coming through the portal, like, even right now, thinking about the moment where Cap picks up the hammer.
That's the coolest moment.
He summons it. I'm like tearing up right now even thinking about it.
That's the coolest moment.
It is so incredible, and like, let
the record show that Kenny is tearing up over Captain America.
God, I love America so much. I love America, and then, like, Thor saying that he is worthy is like that movie, like, in the theater, just everyone erupting like, yes, he's doing it, and it's so awesome, and all these characters coming through the portal, and like the fight with Black Panther having it at Wakanda, they're fighting off all these guys, and it's so amazing. It's such an amazing culmination. You start the movie with a lot of grief because the Avengers for the first time have, like, all of these characters, even like the ancillary, I keep wanting to call them like the Justice League because it's like it's like Avengers Incorporated,
right? Even like the women characters are in this movie, and they let us know because we get a really cringe shot.
Yeah,
in the midst of this giant battle, all the women happen to line up together and say, "Let's get them, girls," and then they go after him for a few seconds.
That is the biggest knock on the entire movie.
It's the low part of the movie.
You're just like, you're in it, and then you're like, what? Like, am I watching a movie right now? I thought I was having an experience.
Right. Yeah.
So, and it's like such a disappointment because, like, there's a lot, like, I always forget her name. The shield or the Spearmaster in Wakanda.
Yeah.
She's so cool.
The black bald chick.
Yeah, she's so cool in Black Panther. Okoye. There it is. And she's, like, so cool. And then you just see her, like, team up with Pepper Potts, who's for some reason just, like, in
Iron
an
Man.
Iron Man suit,
Yeah.
and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, don't degrade these characters. Anyway, but
Sorry.
this movie is incredible, and then you get the end. You get several endings here. You get Tony Stark dies. Tony Stark sacrifices himself by doing the snap, and he defeats Thanos. He saves the universe, something that he was at the very beginning meant to do. And then you also have a really beautiful end to his counterpart, to Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Captain America is allowed to go back, like he goes back in time in order to like collect these gems, all these things. You kind of get a bunch of recaps, and he's like, "That's America's ass," and you're like, "Ew!" And then you just, he's allowed to go back to what, 1936,
The good old days.
yeah, and he's able to finally dance with Peggy Carter, and he's allowed to grow old.
It's a beautiful wrap up. It was my third. Kenny stole it. We got to move on. But Endgame, it was a cultural moment. And
Yeah.
it was, if you didn't see it in theaters,
Yeah.
then you blew it.
Yeah, there's never been a movie so much where it's like, if you didn't see that movie in theaters, you've never missed a bigger cultural moment.
It's a big statement.
I want to stand by it.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Kenny's gonna stand by
You're
it.
number 2.
My number 2 is going to be. Oh, this is really tough, man. You've really screwed my first couple picks there. I really thought your recency bias was gonna kick in, and it really did not. I'm gonna go with. This is really tough. I'm stressing out here, man.
I did it.
I'm gonna go with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
Okay.
incredible pick.
Yeah, it's a really tough pick. There's a lot of movies I think are in the same sort of A tier here. I think we just, in my mind, exit S tier. It's not a knock on these movies. I think most of my movies are now going to be A tier. And Guardians of the Galaxy with Chris Pratt just brought something different to the MCU, where it was, for one of the first times, it felt like we are getting characters outside of Earth that predominantly, we don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
Anyone who's not strictly following comics or knows like hardcore Marvel background, these are absolutely fresh and new characters to us. Mm-hmm. And Chris Pratt couldn't have been built for this role any better. He's so funny. He's so charismatic. He's such a great leader of misfits.
Oh, so losers.
Of losers, right? We had Bradley Cooper playing Rocket, who's hilarious. You get Dave Bautista in the movie, who like kind of makes his like cinematic debut sort of through this, and could have missed on that character so hard, but somehow hits that role. A character like Groot should never work, and he does fit in this. And then is it Zoe Saldana also does a great job as Greenface. And so whatever, Gamora, whatever.
Whoa, what about Vin Diesel as Groot?
Oh, I forgot. Okay, sorry. Vin Diesel as Groot. Amazing voice
movie
actor.
icon. Vin Diesel.
I'll say this. I loved this movie from beginning and ... almost until the end. I thought the ending was stupid. I thought the bad guy looks like a serious bad guy. He's going around with this freaking hammer thing. He's
Ronan the Destroyer.
Okay, Ronan the Destroyer, whatever, blue, blue, blue. He's destroying worlds. Blue. Yeah, he's blue. He's destroying worlds. He puts the hammer down. Boom. Dad, do you love me yet? Okay, that's him going around. Is his dad someone bad? He has like a baddie dad.
Oh yeah,
his baddie daddy.
Huge baddie daddy.
Who's the baddie daddy?
Thanos.
Unbelievable.
Shocker.
Thanos had a lot of kids.
Adopted, yeah.
Yeah, adopted, sure.
Don't cast my bad blood.
Interesting. Nick Cannon has a lot of kids. Maybe they're all adopted too. Probably not. We won't go on that tangent. But here's all I'll say. Everything was amazing. The prison escape scene's amazing. Everyone they come into contact with is amazing. I like the worlds, the planets they go to are amazing. I just thought the ending was stupid when the bad guy is about to destroy the world, and Chris Pratt and the Guardians of the Galaxy start like singing a song to distract him.
Yeah.
And that's enough to like kill this guy. And that guy's acting kind of breaks at the time, the bad guy, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And it's kind of like, it just ripped me out of that moment a little bit, where I was like, it's one of those times when the writing was so good, but they put themselves in a corner by making the stakes that close at the end.
Yeah.
And the out they chose just felt a little lame. Outside of that, so good, Guardian of the Galaxy. Yeah. So that's my second pick.
Obviously, all-time best soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like Jenna and I own this soundtrack on vinyl, and it is such a blast. It's so fun. James Gunn, this isn't his first work, but I feel like this is where he made it big. I mean, the guy who is now running DC is about to release Superman. He has his superhero beginnings in this movie. He as a misfit has his beginnings in Guardians of the Galaxy. This movie also fundamentally changes the way that the Marvel Cinematic Universe looks.
Yeah.
From here out, there's the psychedelic nature of like he captures the comics and the bright colors that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee were like so in all of their artists were so good at pulling together. This movie encapsulates that so perfectly. Like you go to nowhere and it's just like, holy cow, I feel like I'm looking at like a tie-dye shirt right now. It's just incredible. I remember I went to, it wasn't really an early screening, but it was something at IMAX. This was in high school where they showed the first like 15 minutes of the movie, and I went into this movie being like a huge Marvel fan, being like, I don't know jack squat about the Guardians. Like, who the heck is this? Who the heck is James Gunn? I was so doubtful, and my buddy Dylan was like, no, like we're gonna go to this thing. And
thank God for Dylan.
Yeah, thank God for Dylan. And so Dylan, Josh, I think Tanner and I were just sitting in this theater, and I'm like, okay, well, like this, we'll see what comes of this. And the first 15 minutes is that prison breakout scene, and I'm like, Marvel is in a new universe.
Stratosphere.
Like, it has literally broken the stratosphere. It is finally entered into the galactic thing that we like know that it is from the comics. And I can't say enough about this movie. This movie is great. The misfit thing also plays through. I think it's the best way that it highlights it as a central motif of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where all of these characters, none of them are perfect. They're all kind of losers in a way. But I'm gonna, to quote Gandalf, to quote Lord of the Rings.
Of course,
it's not like great people who keep the dark, like that are solving the world's problems. It's the everyday actions of everyday people that keep the darkness at bay. And I feel like even though these people have extraordinary power, some of them, they are at the end of the day ordinary people, and it's their everyday actions. It's like it's the grit that they're willing to dig down in, and find that hero within themselves. It's Stan Lee, it's all these creators coming back to us and be like, where's the hero within you? And this movie highlights that very well.
That's very well said. And it's not surprising, we got to move on, but it's not surprising that after such a disastrous phase 4 for Marvel, that Thunderbolts comes out and it's pretty good. And perhaps you can see inspiration from Guardians of the Galaxy 100%. In Thunderbolts.
Yeah. Misfits, found family. There's also just the nature of like that Thunderbolts, like we talked about, the movie is resolved because it's human to human.
Yeah.
Same here. Solitude dance off.
All
right. Number 3.
Kenny's third pick.
We've talked about this movie before. It's Black Panther.
Yes.
Directed by Ryan Coogler.
Yep.
And just, oh my gosh. Like, I remember, so there's 2 times I saw this movie in theaters. Once was when it came out in theaters. I was in college at the time. Went to the Fox Theater in Laramie, Wyoming, and I watched this movie, and I was like, holy cow, this movie is incredible. The music is incredible. This was my introduction to Ryan Coogler. And I had seen Chadwick Boseman in several other things. I had seen him in 42. I'd seen him in oh gosh, what's the, I'm blanking on the blind. He's
Ray
the,
Charles.
right. I'm pretty sure that's him.
That's Jamie Foxx.
Okay,
And you don't even like Jamie Foxx.
oh, but like Chadwick Boseman is great. The second time I saw this movie was during COVID. They were just re-releasing movies. There was nothing else out. I went to the AMC in Westminster, Colorado, and it was a few weeks after Chadwick Boseman had died.
Wow.
And I remember being like, I have to go see this movie again. And I did, and I wept. And this movie is great for a lot of other reasons. It's a great story. We talked about how it's a story about someone coming to terms with his past, coming to terms with the sins of his father, and still understanding that he can still love his father while recognizing that his father is human. We can talk about like what sort of king he is trying to be. There it kind of tags into some of that like global espionage and like the political intrigue that Winter Soldier does too. And this movie like talks about grief a lot in a really interesting way. Is a guy who had lost his dad, and ultimately we find out that it's not, it's not the special fruit that he eats that makes him the Black Panther. It was again deep down inside.
Well said. Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen, we ranked all the Ryan Coogler movies, and we did sort of a mini deep dive on Black Panther. So if you haven't watched that, go check out that. My third pick is going to be the Avengers. The first Avengers, like we talked about earlier, I won't harp on this film for too long, but that was, I would say, outside of Iron Man kicking it off, a lot of the other films in Phase 1 were not very good, in my opinion. The first Thor, the first Captain America, we can look back at them with joy because of where their sequels went and where they grew as characters. But you go back and watch those original films, and they're actually not great compared to what Iron Man was.
Right.
But the Avengers brought them all together and gave us the best parts of them. And it was the first time virtually any superhero movie had brought in that amount of characters together on screen. And it could have been a disaster, right? Hashtag Justice League. Like, could have been a mess, right? And
my man.
could have been a mess, but honestly, I remember seeing theaters, and I one thing I want to touch on is you mentioned the colors of Guardians of the Galaxy and how the vibrancy pivoted at that point. That vibrancy is not in the Avengers. And I think that is the one of the knocks on the movie for me. And I'm still giving this movie like a 9 out of 10 for its time. Like it is, I saw it in theaters multiple times. I thought it was just so entertaining. It doesn't have that color, right? The middle third of the movie is just like up in the sky. They're just in like a giant helicopter. And like, it's like, so that setting isn't super exciting, right? You even get the last third of the film. Well, it's in New York, and so is every battle ever in a superhero movie. So it's like you're getting some bland backgrounds, but all the characters are amazing. They're at 11s. Loki plays one of the most memorable villains in all of the MCU in this movie, villain, right? Where he's like strong enough to take over and possibly destroy the world, but does so in a way where he's just egotistical and almost just having fun with it. And so Avengers is amazing to me. I love it. You get to see for the first time the superhero egos clashing, right? We get to see fights between Thor and Hulk who don't know each other, and who's a god and who's not, and where are the what's the hierarchy among these heroes, and they're not the Avengers yet, but they become the Avengers in this movie. And they also have probably the most iconic shot, at least like top two iconic shots in all the MCU, and that's the 360 shot of all the heroes with Black Widow and everybody. And that was the moment in the film where you said, I'm in. So Avengers for me.
Iconic end scene where they go and they eat shawarma. That is incredible. This movie, I was trying to recollect at what point the actual like purchase of Marvel that Disney took over, because you have to remember that Incredible Hulk was made by Universal. The first Iron Man was made by Paramount, and I can't remember at what point it switched. But this movie is also, I don't know this for certain, but this movie begins to show us the power of Industrial Lights and Magic, ILM, the company that George Lucas founded in order to make Star Wars. They have now played a critical role as the CGI and special effects um, specialists on all of the Marvel movies, and this movie shows it. Like, this movie is like, oh my gosh, everything in this movie is so believable. It takes the CGI to the next level. It kind of shows the artistry there. It shows the believability there. Again, I just can't go back to the helicarrier rising out of the ocean enough. Even like everyone going through the portal, Iron Man being incredible. Uh, like all the craftsmen that work at ILM here really are just the top of their game.
Sweet. So, yeah, that's Avengers for me. So I've got the Winter Soldier. I've got Guardians of the Galaxy. I've got the Avengers. And you are on to your fourth.
Ooh, I'm on to my fourth. This one's tricky. I am going to go with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Okay.
So this is the third Spider-Man movie. This movie is not. We are introduced to Spider-Man in Captain America: Civil War. We were introduced to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I've talked multiple times about how much I love Spider-Man, and I actually love all three of these movies. But No Way Home kind of is. This movie is also. Am I right in saying this is the end of Phase 3? This is the movie that comes after Endgame. I think I might have that and Far From Home mixed up, but this movie is Peter Parker in my mind kind of at its peak, and I think that more than any other character, the superhero and who is behind the mask of Peter Parker is so crucial. Where his actual just his God-given name, his person, is the most important part of who he is. Peter Parker is so central to who Spider-Man is just a different way than most other superheroes. And in this movie, we get three Spider-Man, all three of our iconic Spider-Man.
So much Spider-Man.
So much Spider-Man.
So much Spider-Man.
They do the meme, they point at each other. It's
Spider-Man.
incredible. And you see how all of these characters have grown and how they have failed throughout time. This is the best Tobey Maguire performance potentially ever. It's incredible. You see still Andrew Garfield.
So disrespectful to Seabiscuit. So disrespectful.
I forgot about Seabiscuit.
Yeah, so disrespectful.
Did you know that every horse in the Kentucky Derby this year was a descendant of Seabiscuit?
Which was basically a descendant of Tobey Maguire.
I don't want to think about that. I don't want to get into that. Clip that. That's good. That'll get us canceled. We made it an hour in. That's a new record. Every horse in the Kentucky Derby is descended from Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire's just that type of dude.
Take a drink. This movie is so good because you're it's putting a lot of these debates of like who is Peter Parker to rest, and finally he's like, at the end of the day, Iron Man starts off with being like, I am Iron Man. Tony Stark is Iron Man, and Peter Parker, the protege of Tony Stark, is saying, I'm actually going to put Spider-Man aside. No one is going to remember who I am because it's the best for the world. It's best for New York, and he has his memory, not his memory, but the memory of him erased through Doctor Strange. This movie also has a really gripping scene of it's the mirror scene to Amazing Spider-Man 2. Gwen Stacy falling.
That's the best part of the movie in my opinion.
You have MJ
besides him ghosting Zendaya, that's my conspiracy theory.
Zendaya, come on the pod. We'd love to have you.
Oh, please.
I would love to have you.
I don't want to sit across from your RBF for 45 minutes.
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, okay. Look it up. Don't worry about it.
But that Andrew Garfield, Amazing Spider-Man reaching down.
That was great.
And rescuing her. You're just, man, this is the second time I've teared up in this episode.
Oh my gosh.
But
what's going on, Kenny?
Him finally being able to save. It's just like he saves MJ in the way that he wishes that he would have saved Gwen Stacy is like so incredibly powerful. You see it in Andrew Garfield's face. Andrew Garfield is an incredible actor. You get Doc Ock in this movie, who is my favorite Spider-Man villain. Oh man, this movie.
All right, you're gonna go on for too long about this because you're just going on a Spider-Man rant at this point.
Yeah, we're a Spider-Man first pod.
We're a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man first pod. And
Apparently we were Tobey Maguire Seabiscuit pod.
well, yeah, Tobey Maguire is in all of us. We just don't know it. Tobey Maguire is amazing. My only pushback, I'm the only person in the world who probably likes this movie and doesn't love it. I think you're beat over the head with nostalgia and one-liners from the Spider-Mans and the villains. And I honestly was like checking my watch at times during this movie because it was just going so formulaic through so many things, but it was still really good. And I can see why people love it. So that's a great pick. My 4 is Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah. So controversial pick, but this is, like I would have picked this ahead of No Way Home, even though I'm sure 95% of people wouldn't. But I thought the colors in this movie were so vibrant and so wonderful, and we got to see the Tom Holland Spider-Man, and I honestly fell in love with him in this movie, and I think it's his best. He always has this gain of friends. I think his friends are the best in this film. I think Michael Keaton as the villain is a bit forgettable. But I do think this movie is about Peter Parker. It's about, just kind of that traditional Spider-Man story a little bit of who do I share? I'm hiding my identity. Marissa Tomei is in the movie. She's awesome. I don't know. I love this movie. I just think it's really wonderful. There's a good little one or two little twists in the movie that'll keep you on your toes. And I just thought I completely understand. Not as memorable as No Way Home by any means, but I think had this movie not been as good as it was, maybe we don't see a trilogy of Tom Holland Spider-Man films. Yeah. And so I think this movie's a little forgotten, but it's really good. So that's my pick. Didn't mention it before. These movies are directed by, I want to say, John Watts. And he captures high school really well. I really love the Into the Spider-Verse movies. I love the animated Miles Morales movies. But before those movies came out, there was this one, and this movie was like, hey, Tom Holland or Peter Parker can actually be a believable high schooler. Yeah. And that's really cool. He has this huge crush on MJ, and it's just that's so real. He doesn't look like he's 30 years old like Tobey Maguire. Yeah, he isn't literally 30 years old like Tobey Maguire would destroy him. Okay. Probably because he's 30. Yeah, probably because the brain hasn't fully materialized at that point. This movie is really great. Introducing, Homecoming is such a great name too. All these movies are named so well to where it's just hey, Spider-Man, the gold standard, the chosen son of the of Marvel, is back. Yeah. In the MCU. Where he belongs, the statement that is, and how successful this movie is, because they named it Spider-Man Homecoming, and if this movie sucked, it would be how could you? Oh. How could you take this from Sony? Which, look at what Sony... Look at the masterpiece that is Madam Web and go tell me, what Sony could possibly do wrong. This movie is incredible. This is a great pick, and... yeah, there's nothing in it. All right, we each got one more. Kenny, okay. What do you got? My final pick. We haven't had Thor enter into our list yet, and I think that belongs on this list. Thor Ragnarok is my 5th pick. I love Taika Waititi. I've seen almost everything that he has made. He's one of my all-time favorite directors. What are some of his other movies? Just so I have that. So Hunt for the Wilder People is on there. He made a movie just called Boy, which is quite good. He made the FX. He made the movie What We Do in the Shadows, and then that's right. That's the one I was trying to think of. Yeah. Okay. So Vampire Core. We've been talking a lot about. Oh, we've been talking so much about vampires, and so off screen. If you guys are in the Discord. Yeah. If you're in the Discord with us, all we've been talking about is vampires. Jen and I have recently rewatched all 5 Twilight movies, and man, they're awesome. Those movies,
Like
Kenny only speaks for one half of the podcast.
Yeah, I could rewatch those movies over and over and over again. So, what's her face? Kirsten Stewart. I know that you're at Cannes right now. Congratulations on your new movie. Come on the pod.
She wishes.
Yeah, she wishes she was here instead of in France.
She wishes she was in Cannes.
She is in Cannes.
Well, we'll see. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what was that pick?
That was
Thor Ragnarok.
Thor Ragnarok.
Give me a minute on Thor Ragnarok.
This movie is incredibly funny. I think that this like you have a Matt Damon cameo in this movie where he's, they're replaying the Thor and Loki thing, and that's just incredible. Okay, I might be getting my movies mixed up, but this movie is also about Thor and Loki's relationship, where Thor recognizes that Loki is a villain, but he still feels deep down inside the kid that he was, the brother that he grew up with. And this movie, all these movies really are about family in different ways. And this one's like, no, this guy is my family. Yes, he comes from somewhere else. And yes, that was like a huge, just, it was his canon event. It was Loki's canon event, finding out that he was from Niflheim, was a frost giant. But Thor ultimately is like, I don't know if I can trust my brother, but he continues to fight.
Oh, Thor, you don't know if you can trust your brother. He tried to take over Earth.
Yeah.
But you still aren't sure.
Right. And there's also the flip side of like, Loki is like, no, like I'm against this, I want my power. But at the end of the day, you recognize that both of these guys still recognize the bond of brotherhood that is within them. And I think that that's great. I have two brothers. I love them both. And this movie makes me think of them.
I haven't spoken to my brother in months. Anyways.
Fix that.
The only thing I'll say is about Loki. I think it's a good pivot for his character. And we do see that perhaps what he enjoys more than anything is being mischievous and deceitful. And can that be used for good?
Right. The god of mischief loves to be mischievous.
Yeah, very on the nose there. Yeah. But just
Norse scholar.
But just that. No, all I'm saying is mischievous is seen as a negative trait.
Mm-hmm.
And I often will go on rants about how sometimes I think something like being mischievous prejudged as a negative trait is wrong. I don't know if mischievous is necessarily good or bad. It depends on how it's targeted, because he's able to use that mischievous to help the Avengers and help the people of Earth when trying to battle against Thanos later on. So like, is mischievous in itself bad, or is it just how it's perceived?
Are you a Slytherin?
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, that makes sense. This movie is also, Thor ends up giving, I can't remember.
An eye.
He gives one of his eyes. They are fighting, actually, another sibling. They're fighting Hela in this movie, who I guess is Odin's daughter from someone else. And like, she's super powerful. She ends up crushing Mjolnir at the very beginning, and he has to go and talk with freaking Tyrion Lannister. What's that guy's name?
The small man.
Yeah. He ends up forming a new weapon for him. He gets lightning, new lightning powers.
Nothing's cool.
And this movie also is a jumping off point to the Infinity War saga, to where Asgard is destroyed.
Cool.
It is Ragnarok.
Asgard is destroyed. Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta move on to my last pick because we're stretching out here. And I am kind of caught in between two movies. It's between, Kenny, Thunderbolts and Civil War. I'm really caught in between those two. Oh man, that's really, 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 really tough. I'm gonna total recency bias this. This is not the right pick, but I think I'm gonna go with Thunderbolts. Yeah. I really do. I think I'm in the minority here, but I thought Civil War was a bit rushed. I think it was a bit forgettable. I think it was a bit messy. Maybe that's what it was supposed to be, but it just wasn't that memorable for me, and I wasn't in love with it. We get we get some cool hero on hero battles, but I don't, again, think they culminate to anything and that they're super memorable. Where I know we both just watched Thunderbolts. We just reviewed it right before this episode. So if you guys haven't seen our review, go watch Thunderbolts. Go watch the review. If you're not going to watch Thunderbolts, go watch the review anyways, and we will lay out the movie for you and save you some time. But I thought the Thunderbolts was just awesome. Who's the main chick in that movie?
Yelena.
And she's played by Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh. I just think she crushes it.
Yeah.
I just think she nails that role, and it was just it was an underdog story.
Totally.
It was the movie right now the MCU needed more than anything to take a step in the right direction after all the disasters and embarrassments they've had post Endgame. So for that reason, I'll put my foot in on Thunderbolts as my final film.
Yeah, I actually this is a good pick. I think that I do look back on Civil War quite fondly. I think that would have also been a very worthy pick. This one's good because it is saying, hey, we're going back to where we began. It's a real shame. Like, for me, an honorable mention is going to be Captain America First Avenger. I love that movie. I understand that it's not like necessarily as well crafted as some of these other movies, or might not have the certain like cinematic qualities that we might look for in terms of like high art or whatever. But in that movie we talk like it talks about like, hey, the serum only enhances what is within. And at the end of the day, that's still, it's pointing back to that central theme of it's about the people, right? You're getting a lot of tie-ins. You're getting Guardians of the Galaxy tie-in a little bit. You're getting some Iron Man tie-in where these people like were bad and they're kind of coming back around, like Loki tie-in. And at the end of the day, it's going back to its roots too of saying, hey, this is ultimately a very simple story. This is about people coming together, finding family, and finding a purpose to allow the heroic within all of us to come out. I think it's a worthy pick.
Thank you, Kenny. So let's rehash. What were your top 5?
Okay. So
in order.
We have...
This is Kenny's draft.
Number 1, Iron Man. Number 2, Endgame. Number 3, Black Panther. Number 4, Spider-Man No Way Home. And number 5, Thor Ragnarok.
It's a great list. That's just like all S and A tier movies. Like
So
that. That's. I feel like your list.
I want to go home and watch them all right now.
I feel like your list totally beat mine.
Jenna, buckle in.
I feel like your list destroyed mine. I feel like I got all my in between movies that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
So I had Captain America: Winter Soldier. I had Guardians of the Galaxy. I had the Avengers. I had Spider-Man: Homecoming and Thunderbolts. I feel like a lot of the in-between movies.
I don't know. I love your list.
But
like, I actually think that our top 10 is really, really good.
Would you say it's unchallengeable?
I think there's a few movies. I think that we should go through some honorable mentions here. So I talked about Captain America: First Avengers. I think Doctor Strange may like. I really like Doctor Strange. Scott Derrickson, horror director, also a Christian, but which is interesting. So I think that movie could have made the list. I think that like Infinity War is also worthy. So there's a lot of movies that I think like we forget that the MCU didn't miss hard for a really long time. I even really liked the first Thor movie. Like, and again, a lot of that's nostalgia, and a lot of that's just like, oh my gosh, I love these characters and what they became. And like, once you have Avengers, you kind of like look back and like reflect on all of them that way. So, but I would say ultimately, in terms of quality and like best movies, I think there's a few that might creep into like through the 7.
What Kenny's saying is it's an unchallengeable list.
It's unchallengeable. Exactly.
It's unchallengeable.
Thank you for summarizing what I was saying.
Similar to one of your favorite sports movies, Challengers. Yeah. There will be no challenging this list.
Right.
But honestly, drop us your top 5 to 10 MCU movies.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in order. If you want to put them in order, even great. And then we can tell you where you went wrong.
Yeah.
All we have to do is sidle it up right next to our list, which is unchallengeable.
Yeah.
And we will tell you how right and how wrong you are.
Yeah, and we'll actually rank all of your individual lists among each other. So
Yeah.
if you want to be number one, you better bring your A game or your S game, if you will. Bring your S tier game.
If we rank your list, it's gonna be fire or trash. Those are my only two categories.
I love that. Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. That was our episode 13.
Yeah.
Remember, because we have not really mentioned it, to sub, like, and comment.
Yeah.
Because we need more comments.
Yeah.
We need even more likes, and we need even more subs. So
A lot more subs.
yeah,
We need Avengers to assemble here,
Thank
guys.
you.
We need
That's
Avengers
what I
to
was
assemble.
looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That's it.
Excelsior.